world economy relies on an efficient global supply chain. Let's meet Maple, an eco-friendly car company which is having some major challenges. Their complex business structure requires loads of logistics. Shipments and payments going to and from over 12 countries around the world, all with different importation and exportation regulations, as well as currencies. Their business is suffering from high banking fees and terrible conversion rates, errors in documentation and improper document storage, expanding payroll to keep the supply chain running smoothly, slow payments and document transfer. In fact, in global trade, over $2 trillion was lost in the past year alone due to these factors. Introducing the Morpheus Network. Using the power of the Ethereum blockchain and smart contract technology, the Morpheus network automates any company's supply chain, no matter how complex. Let's put the Morpheus network into action. The Brazilian distributor just sold a Maple eco-friendly SUV. Their inventory is down to 12 units. Once the smart contract objective of low stock is met, the rest of the smart contract is deployed. Contracts for parts from each supplier are instantly generated and securely stored. Instant payment powered by the Morpheus token, sent from the distributor to the head company and then to all the suppliers, with no additional banking fees and with real rate currency conversions. Payments that can be sent to over 1,600 banks globally through our integration to SWIFT. Shipping and customs documentation from the suppliers and eventually to the distributor are instantly generated, with each country's regulations taken into account. The integration or layering of other blockchain and non-blockchain technologies to be included as objectives in a given smart contract. As a result, the company's entire complex supply chain is automated, allowing the Maple eco-friendly car company to speed up their business by running it smoothly and more efficiently. Put the Morpheus network's innovative technology into action. Automate any company's supply chain, simple or complex, to drastically boost your profits. Join us to put the over $2 trillion lost due to international supply chain inefficiencies back into the global economy.
And here's what Tokenizer is referring to. This is straight from his Twitter. A lot of people refer to it as crypto Twitter. So it says, welcome to the centerpiece. In this thread, Tokenizer will be breaking down the core fundamentals as an introduction to the Morpheus network, MNW, to truly understand why they have the potential to be this centerpiece of a fully digitalized supply chain. Let's just basically jump into this. He posted this not really too long ago. It doesn't really matter. The key thing, guys, is the quality research, right? So I'm gonna go through this, but I'm gonna let you take it away. So just kind of elaborate a little bit in regards to some of this.
For sure, yeah. The first thing I want to point out is I had no idea I wrote this on my birthday.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Yeah,
see, that means you're passionate about crypto if you're writing about things on your birthday.
That's true, yeah. So as it was mentioned, this thread, I've decided to title it the centerpiece. Now, the reason for this is because for anyone who's unaware of how Morpheus Network works, they're actually middleware technology. So they're not like a layer 1 blockchain, for example. Like, a lot of people compare VeChain with Morpheus Network. Why? Because they're both supply chain networks, right? Well, they're not actually the best of comparisons. And this is largely because VeChain is another layer 1 network. So if you think like Hedera Hashgraph, Casper, Ethereum, Cardano, etc., those are all layer 1 networks, right? They're kind of this foundational layer where you can build other applications on top of, and there's other utilities in there that are kind of programmed, right? Well, Morpheus Network is more of a kind of middle communication layer that sits between blockchains and other technologies. Now, that might sound kind of familiar, right? There's another technology that does something very similar to this, Overledger. So Morpheus network isn't exactly Overledger. As far as I know, there's no white label connections or anything, though there are a lot of connections between Quant and Morpheus network. Can save that rabbit hole for later, but essentially how this works is with Morpheus network sitting in the middle as a tech agnostic communications layer, it can communicate with different blockchains. So, you have your Ethereum, you have Hyperledger, and you have all these other layer one blockchains that people might start building businesses on, right? But there's also the legacy side of supply chain. So that's like your UPS, your DHL, your FedEx, etc. These have been around for decades now, right? Like far longer than probably most of us have been alive for. And
Right, I'm
they're
gonna
not.
blow that up for you. Sorry to cut you off. I'm blow it up for
Oh,
you.
no worries. But yeah, so as we can see there, there's those different blockchain networks we mentioned, right? Like, so in that photo, I put Ethereum, Polygon, etc., and Hyperledger. And then on the other side, we see these legacy supply chain companies, right? Like UPS, FedEx, and DHL. So these have preset supply chain modules that are set in there to where, you get all the data from the logistics. So it's like it got package A just got sent out from the sorting facility, and now it's on the plane to travel to wherever. Now imagine this at mass scale because they're not just shipping one product, right? There's millions of products that go through these logistics facilities every single day. And so now you have to kind of aggregate the scale of this, right? Because it's not just UPS doing it, but there's FedEx, there's DHL, and there's a lot of these other supply chain companies out there that are kind of doing a similar thing. Of course, these three are probably the largest, I want to say. So they're allowing these legacy supply chain companies to leverage blockchain technology without having to, restart and rebuild all of their solutions on blockchain. Because not only is that expensive and time inefficient, but it doesn't make sense, right? If you have all the technology that already works, but there's a couple pieces that are missing, like the transparency and immutability of a blockchain to go back and, do product recalls and stuff. A blockchain can do that perfectly. You don't need to restart and build everything on blockchain. Just integrate blockchain technology to whatever needs a solution in that area. And then as you guys can see, there's other industries that are tied in here, right? So there's things like Oracle DB, Microsoft, and Google Cloud. These are different cloud and technology service providers that, would also be a good addition to the supply chain that Morpheus Network also connects to. Because, there's a lot that goes into supply chain beyond just like data coming in and then new data being generated. But there's actual value that gets transferred across the supply chain, right? Which takes us to the top slide where we can see there's different banking networks. So do you want to just scroll up there?
Yeah, let me get back to that. Sorry about that. I was just
Yeah,
trying to zoom in a little bit more for
yeah,
everybody.
the sizing's definitely a little weird.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's crypto Twitter. You only have so much to go with. So is this the area you want to get to?
Oh, I just meant by like the photo that
The
you were
photo.
showing.
I'm sorry, I can just go right back. There we go.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, just right up there. So as we can see, there's some other blockchain networks I put there, such as XRP and XLM. Of course, those are much more payments focused than applications focused, right? Ethereum and Polygon are probably more application focused, meaning you build different decentralized applications upon there. Whereas XRP and XLM, you kind of leverage them more for their scalability for things like payments. But within payments, there's also, of course, the legacy side of payments. And this is where we see things like SWIFT, National Bank of Canada, and Access Pay, which Morpheus Network actually has connections to every single one of these. And so this is because of what we talked about earlier, right? The seamless conversion of fiat to digital asset payments. Because no enterprise or supply chain business is going to want to be paying in crypto. They're going to want to pay in fiat, and whatever the company does with the fiat, whether it converts it to crypto or stores it in their treasury, whatever, that doesn't matter to the company anymore, right? As long as their payment is seamless and they get the solutions they paid for, that's all that matters.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically it in a nutshell. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, that would be a situation. Can you imagine being somebody who's like a UPS carrier and so on? He's on a time sensitive schedule, right? He might not, understand, the concept of distributed ledger technology or, APIs and all these types of things and so on. All he knows is, look, this needs to get paid for. I need you to sign. I need to go. I have a schedule. Boom, let's do it. what you mentioned in regards to fiat totally makes sense.
Awesome. And then, yeah, do you want to just scroll down a little bit further into the thread?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into that. Let me just jump back to that particular tab. Here's a little bit more in regards to the thread, and go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, so in this part, I'm pretty much explaining kind of the current issues with DLT in terms of industry adoption, right? And I guess I kind of mentioned this in terms of, why Morpheus network would be a more attractive solution than, say, a layer 1 network. And this is because by utilizing Morpheus network, you don't have to completely overhaul your current tech stack, but you can keep that and sort of add Morpheus network in there. Whereas if you build on a layer 1, you're not adding that in there. You're completely tearing apart what you have right now to rebuild on blockchain technology, which, again, as we stated, is not efficient. And there's just a lot of better ways to go about that with the current infrastructure that's out there, right?
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, that's the way I look at it as well.
For sure, yeah. And then in that tweet below, I'm kind of talking about other things they offer beyond being a middleware technology. Like, being middleware is great, right? You're agnostic, so that means you play towards both sides. But the two other things Morpheus Network is focused on is digitalization of the supply chain and automation of the supply chain. So digitalization essentially means creating a digital twin of the supply chain so that all that data gets stored and it's immutably recorded, right? Because a large problem with the supply chain at the moment, and we've seen countless issues with the supply chain over the past couple of years, right? From the backlogs during COVID to what's going on with Russia and Ukraine to even now, the resources and materials and costs due to inflation has kind of caused the supply chain to be all wacky at the moment.
Well, it's just a complete breakdown completely. So, yeah.
Yeah. And so all that is stored on pen and paper at the moment in terms of a lot of the data and the receipts for these transactions. So you can only imagine what happens when one or two people, lose those receipts or some of the data inputs are missing, right? That can cause a huge mess. So by digitalizing the supply chain, you take out the potential for human error because, I don't care if you've been working in supply chain for 10, 20, 30 years. We're humans. We're going to make mistakes. But computers, not so much from what we've seen. They're able to be a lot more accurate than we are. And, with what we're seeing with AI and machine learning at the moment, that's just going to exponentially evolve.
And I just want to take a moment to interject something in regards to what you just mentioned. So we have the case where maybe you do have the guy from UPS or you have the other guy from, a different particular carrier. They have attitude, I just want to do a fiat and so on. Here's the thing, back to what you just mentioned, right? So if we're digitalizing the supply chain, if you will, and these guys end up getting to the point where they actually have the app in the same Palm Pilot or whatever they're using, because you always see those guys, right, with that type of device. If you could have something that Morpheus Network can introduce, to my understanding, and which is like an all-in-one, if you will, with the app, with the Palm Pilot all in one, then that says to me, well, look, if you're using all in one particular app, then why wouldn't you want to maybe instead do the fiat route, maybe convert it to, like some of you guys have mentioned, like Tim Shea and so on, like Stellar or some of these other particular ones, because you keep the value, especially if we're dealing with other countries, right, where you have that particular country. Let's say I always use Nigeria, where you don't want the value of the native currency to diminish in value, hence why you would use like Stellar or why you would use some of the other ones. So if we can make an all-in-one platform, right, that's going to solve some of these use cases, to me, Tokenizer wouldn't make sense to like not have to jump back to. It's kind of like saying if I'm holding two devices right now, right, you know what I mean, why would I want to jump from one to the other? That's more time consuming. Just have one. And if they build it all on one particular platform, you can potentially over time have the guy where it's like, yeah, I'm just fiat all the way. No, I'm recognizing that it's not that hard to use.
For sure, yeah. And I thought that was a really good analogy too. Something I'd add to that is, what if you had, so you have two devices in your hands right now, right? What if there was a single dashboard where you could access both of these devices at once? Would that not make your, I don't want to say your life a lot more simple, but different operations you have to carry out with these devices a lot more simple.
Yeah, it's simplicity. I mean, as the saying goes, time is money. And literally, if you're a guy on the go, like these guys totally are. I mean, if I'm sure you see it yourself, right? You know, they want you to sign off for something. They want you to hurry up. And if you don't, then they have to come back the next day or whatever. So if time is money, then the apps are just that. They should be solving these things, especially when it comes to DLT.
For sure, yeah. And I actually spent a couple months working at UPS, and I can confirm that these guys move fast because there's a lot of beyond a lot of packages to deliver. There's just so much that kind of goes on in supply chain and logistics where you don't want to waste your time on these small scale things.
Yeah, very much true. Again, for you, hey Tokenizer, do you run a Morpheus master node? That's a good question.
So this question actually makes me a bit sad because masternodes actually can't be ran in Canada at the moment. And as many of you guys know, Morpheus Network has a KYC for who can join their masternodes. So, unfortunately, whatever regulations we have here aren't compliant with Morpheus Network. So, until we get a new regulatory bill, I unfortunately won't be able to run a Morpheus Network masternode.
But that's so frustrating.
It is, man. It is.
Yeah, that's because if anything, that's opportunity through innovation, and you're being suppressed by a government that doesn't see it that way.
For sure, yeah. And the ironic thing is Morpheus Network is a company based in Toronto, Canada.
Oh, maybe that's a province issue. I don't know, that doesn't make any sense. But we have certain, well, I should say this. So here in the United States, I'm sure you've seen this, right? You have some states that are more crypto friendly, if you will, like Wyoming really stands out. Texas stands out, right? New York, obviously, like it's just like regulation hell, if you will. But and it shouldn't be that way. We're supposed to be like the United States of America, where if anything, you're Canada. You shouldn't be like, this province, like Ontario shouldn't have like a completely different approach towards crypto than, British Columbia. So anyway.
Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you have not yet subscribed, do yourself a favor and subscribe for more information on the ISO 222 compliant tokens, and hit the notification bell to make sure that you are aware of the new videos when they come up. Max and I cover these ISOs, and we also have a live show every single night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you tune in for that. You won't want to miss it. Thanks again, and we will see you on the next video.